Hey guys, welcome back to Rocket Gyan, my fellow space tubers. And today we are back again with another launch, and this time it is from China. And right now you can see we are T minus 1 hour 32 minutes from the launch. Everything is looking good. We can see those launch preparations. The all the three taikonauts or the astronauts, whatever you want to say, are already in the capsule. We can see the closing of the orbital module here in the top right corner, and then we have the we can see the preparations to uh, actually close the hatch. So right now everything is going as per the plan. We already have all the three astronauts on board and ready for the liftoff. The things are looking good. The hatch is being closed. First of all, the top right hatch will be closed, and then the other one which is in the top left, it will be closed. So the top right is one for the orbital module, and then the other one is the at the payload fairing, in which they enter the capsule. So yeah, this is how it is right now. Everything is going as per the plan. Yeah, so welcome to the streams. Hey Angel, hey Space Maniac Zach, and Angel, after a long time, huh? Welcome to the stream, Footlong Hot Dog. Okay, Ola from Nevada. And hi Spirit, welcome back. So yeah, we will get to know everything about this mission. So talking about this mission is the final mission to the CSS, the Chinese Space Station, as they say. So why am I saying it's the final? I mean, let me just complete my sentence. Final mission for the construction of the CSS. So with this launch, the construction of the Chinese space station, or the Tiangong Space Station, will be completed, and we are looking good for its on-time liftoff right now. These three crew members would be responsible for all the things that will be happening today, and so they will be staying for about 6 months or 1 year or so. We don't have much confirmation about that, but yeah, this will be the first time. Fun fact is that this will be the first time that there will be two Shenzhou capsules that will be docked with the space station. Earlier it was like there was no, the crew rotation was like this. The earlier crew used to left, then the cargo vessel used to come. So at that point of time the CSS was completely empty, and then the other Shenzhou 14 or 13 used to come to do other things, right, to do the work. So but this time the Shenzhou 14 crew is already on board on the CSS, the Chinese space station, and there will be handshake. So the Shenzhou 14 crew will be there waiting for them, and they will be welcoming the Shenzhou 15 crew. And then after a week or so, the Shenzhou 14 crew will leave the station, and the Shenzhou 15 will do the complete construction. Will verify basically the modules have already been installed, the Wentian and Mengtian. Now the thing is that they need to start all those modules and make sure everything is working as per the plan. There are like four spacewalks which are planned for this mission, and yeah, right now things are looking good. So hey, everyday spaceman, welcome to the stream. Hi Rocket Gyan, I am good. How are you? I like to see the Vyomnauts go in adapted Gaganyaan to CSS. Whoa, that would be something, Angel. Uh, right now, the geopolitics between India and China won't allow that. But as we know that the CSS docking adapters has been made in uh, conjunction with the International Space Station adapter. So those are the thing which can dock to the International Space Station can also dock to the CSS. And for regarding Vyomnauts, the Indian Space Station is also in the plans, and hopefully and most probably the docking adapters in that also will follow the International Space Station standard. So there will be three stations, space stations orbiting the Earth, and all of them will be compatible for each other. But see the thing, um, but nobody will go to um nobody will go from like exchange their crew members. I don't think so that would happen. Maybe with ISS and the Indian Space Station something can happen, but I can't see anything happening with CSS. So yeah, this is how it is. So right now we can see the orbital module has been closed. The payload fairing hatch is being readied for it to be closed, and you can see the staff working in to make that happen. So now let's just we have already got the overview of the mission. You can see now the top left, the top right module, the hatch has been closed, so that's the orbital module. The in the top right, it's an orbital module. Bottom right, it's the re-entry module in which the astronauts are there, and there is also a service module. Okay, and in the top left, we have the hatch of the payload fairing, which is being closed, and the bottom left, we can see all the proceedings. So yeah, that's how it is. Now let's move on to the rocket itself. Let's understand which rocket is getting flown today. So we have this Long March 2F rocket going to the space. Thanks to Wani for providing this infographic. So you can see here, uh, this is there are 4 boosters attached to the core stage. Then we have a second stage, and then we have the fairings, and in that we have the Shenzhou spacecraft, and obviously the escape tower is there. So talking about the booster stage is powered by 4. So the main engine is powered by 4 YF20 engines, and then the booster stages are also powered by YF20 engines, and they uses the fuel. You can see the UDMH and N2O4. So they haven't totally moving on to the more cleaner fuels, the kerolox, which they use in their the Long March 5 rockets. They haven't used it yet, but the Long March 9 rocket, which is supposed to be the next generation of the rocket system which they are having, the heavy launch systems as well as the manned systems, in which the reusability will also be there. So in that, you will see a shift from these toxic fuels to the more cleaner ones, and the developments for that is already in place. We have seen the static fire of the engines, which will be used. I think it's YF100 engines, restartable version of YF100. I'm not so sure about it, but yeah, there's that. We have seen a static fire of that, so things are proceeding in a right direction in that case. So you will see a shift very soon, and the reason why they haven't shifted yet, because human rated launchers are very difficult. First of all, it's very difficult to rate a launcher for human standards, and once it is rated, nobody wants to touch that until unless some bigger discovery or bigger advantage is there. So in a Long March 9 will have reusability, so advantage is there, and hence it will be uh, they will shift to that. So until and unless that happens, it will be we will be seeing this rocket only taking the crew to the station. So yeah, I was talking about 4 YF20 engines, and then the second stage, the four booster stages, separable boosters, then the core stage, and then the second stage. The second stage is powered by YF24 engines, which have again UDMH and 204 as its fuel, and it also have the main engine as YF24 and the vernier thruster. There are 4 vernier thrusters which are responsible for providing fine tuning of the orbit as well as the roll control. And then we have the crew module. You can see the orbiter module, the crew module here, and the service module there, and then the escape tower. So this summarizes the rocket. You can see. So talking about the second stage engine, that's what I was talking about. So this is the YF24 engine, and then these are the thrusters, the 4 thrusters. So the mission profile looks like this. The main engines get shut down, and then also these 4 vernier thrusters keep on thrusting, giving it a fine tuning of the orbit, because when you have low fuel in the rocket, then the mass of the rocket decreases and the acceleration increases, and there is a limit to which you can decelerate your uh, thrust for the main engine, right? And that is the reason why the vernier thrusters come into play when the rocket is very low on fuel and you don't want excess g's applied on your crew members. Then you go for the vernier thrusters uh, on it. So yeah, there is that. Okay, now moving on to the next one, which is the this is a very interesting graphic provided by WLR, and this actually summarizes all the things which are there on the rocket. But the thing which I wanted you to see is the escape system. So we have this stabilizing grid fins which will be deployed if the rocket comes into an escape trajectory. So there is high altitude abort motors, then we have escape tower main motor, escape tower separation motor, and then we have the high altitude separation motors. So there is this what should I say, a system in which there is an escape scenario in which the first of all the main motor, escape tower main motor fires. That happens in low altitudes. And then we have the separation motors. As you know, the separation motors is used, as the name suggests, used to separate that tower from the main rocket. And then we have the main motor, which actually has the work to take away the capsule. So this happens at the low altitude. So after the separation of the tower, we have the shroud motors. That's like, you can imagine it in the analogy of a Progress Soyuz spacecraft. Sorry. So in that also we have this shroud motor. So these are the high altitude abort motors, and obviously they have the separation motors also. So this happens if there is a abort condition when the escape tower has been jettisoned, but you still want, and there is a problem with the rocket and you want to escape, then the high altitude abort motors come into existence. And then the grid fins obviously is used for when the escape system is armed, is actually detonated, is not armed, is not detonated, is functioned, I would say. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, this is the Shenzhou spacecraft, guys. As I was saying, so it has three separate modules, similar to what a Soyuz spacecraft would look like: an orbital module, re-entry module, and a service module. Service module has all the life support system, electronics, avionics, fuel, and all those things. The re-entry module is where the astronauts are, or taikonauts are right now. And then the orbital module is a place where all the the things which astronauts carry to the space station, the cargo is on the orbital module. And in the re-entry module, most of the life support system and other cargo which are useful for an escape emergency situations is put in the re-entry module. Okay, moving on to the next one. This is the core module. I should not be speaking about this right now. So this is the Chinese space station, and the looks of it, which you can see, this is how the space station has been completed. So there is a core module Tianhe, which is here. Then we have a laboratory module 1 Wentian, which you can see here, this one. And then we have a Mengtian here. So Wentian and Mengtian are mostly the research compartments, the laboratory module, but the Wentian also is a backup to the core module. So if anything goes wrong with the core module and it just does not function anymore, then the Wentian is a backup. It's a kind of a redundancy, so that the whole station does not go down if the core module goes off. So yeah, there is that. Then we have the crewed spacecraft, the Shenzhou, which is going to dock today, the cargo spacecraft Tianzhou, which has already been launched. And then there is a telescope module also, which is Zhunshan. So this is a kind of an accessory for the Chinese space station. It does not actually have it is not attached to the space station, but it will remain in the same orbit, kind of an orbit of the space station, and it will be docked with the space station whenever a service is needed. So this is also like a very capable telescope. You can see 300 times the Hubble's field of view. So yeah, there's that. Okay. This is how it would look like once it is completed. So it has been completed, we all know. So this is the timeline which we can see. October has in the October Mengtian lab module was launched, and the Shenzhou 15 is being launched, and this Shenzhou 15 will be the last launch, the final launch for the construction of the Chinese space station. So very important milestone for them. And yes, as you can see, they have not delayed the timeline. The construction went as per the plan, everything went as per the plan, and they are here for the final launch of the construction of the Chinese space station. Okay, now let's have a look at the crew. So we have Commander Fei Junlong, and I am so sorry if I pronounce them wrong, because I'm not a person who knows Chinese, so pardon me for that. So he's Deng Qingming and Zhang Lu. They have been assigned for this mission. You can see that, and the commander of this mission, he has already flown in Shenzhou 6 mission, and if I'm not wrong, the Shenzhou 6 mission was the only last mission where a crew member actually went to the orbital module for maybe resting and all those things. But for this mission, that is not happening. And also they have reduced the time for the docking to the space station in under 3 hours. So yeah, there's that. They are always trying to minimize the time, and they have made progress in that also. So talking about the Shenzhou 15, so what are the tasks of the Shenzhou 15? So carry out the long-term residency verification of the space station. So they will try to turn on everything and make sure everything is working fine. Complete the unlocking, installation and testing of 15 scientific experiment cabinets. There were 16 of them actually were selected from all over the world experiments, and they will be installed and tested. And then we have 3 to 4 EVA, which will complete the installation of the Mengtian cabin, expansion pump set, and load platform equipment. So load platform equipment is kind of where the astronauts will rest their foot when they want to do a spacewalk. And then we have the verify the cargo airlock cabin out of cabin working mode, and cooperate with the ground to complete 6 cargo out of cabin tasks. So there is that. Carry out normalized platform testing, maintenance and station management, carry out in orbit health protection exercise, in orbit training and drills, etc. So these are the major tasks of the Shenzhou 15 on your screens, and the duration is like a 6 months or so, if I'm not wrong about that. Okay, now finally we can see the launch profile. So liftoff will happen, the stage 1 booster flight will there, and then the escape tower will be jettisoned, the booster separation will happen, and after that the fairing separation. The second stage will separate from the first stage. The spacecraft will separate when the second stage is already out of fuel, and then the Shenzhou 15 will deploy its solar panels, and then again arm its engine for the final approach to the CSS. So yeah, this should be pretty much about it. Hey, thank you so much, Angel, for that too. Good luck, China. Good luck. Obviously, I hope they are able to witness the launch. We are able to witness the launch today, and it's all successful. Thank you so much, Angel, for that €2. Really appreciate it, man. Thank you so much. Okay. All right. So are we going in for the countdown? Let me just see. Yep. It looks like it has been paused. So let me just have a look at it if everything is going good. Yeah. Good. Okay. So there is no as such right now um, music or some sort of commentary going on in the background for them. So right now you can see they are still looking in for the closing of the hatch of the payload fairing. The astronauts are resting, the taikonauts are resting, getting ready for the launch. They all are well seated in on their seats. And talking about the seats are actually tailor made for the taikonauts or the astronauts. And so those dimensions of the seats are made according to the astronauts. And why does is it me, or does this feel like this camera has like been actually stuck or something like that? Because I can't see any movement here. Yeah, I think it's stuck. So yeah, we are T minus 1 hour 12 minutes from the launch. Everything is looking good. Okay. So that was something. That was not stuck. Okay, all right. So they have a very good statue posture, right? Hey, hi Parth, how are you? Welcome to the stream. Okay. So we are looking good for an on-time liftoff. T minus 1 hour 11 minutes from the launch. Everything is looking good. Hopefully we will get to hear the commentary in just some moments from now, few minutes from now. But other than that, if you have questions, guys, you can ask me, and I shall be answering those things. So a fun fact, orange cargo which you are seeing just behind the commander. So commander is basically seated in the middle seat, and then the two other astronauts are there. So that orange thing which you can see in front of you is actually kind of an lifeboat, which have all the things if they get to a place where in ocean or some sort of like this. So and every cargo which you can see in this module, the re-entry module, is mostly the belongings, very private belongings, or the essential items which are there for the survival, which are needed for the survival of the crew in case of any mishappenings or something like that. So yes, they do also, in those cargo containers, they do also have a gun with them. So because it's a same thing which the Russians also follow. So the Russian members, the Russian astronauts, cosmonauts, also have a gun, because the place where they land is kind of a wild area, and you can you can actually encounter a wild animal, a boar, a bear, or I don't know. So wild animals can be encountered, and you don't want to fight a wild animal when you have just landed onto the earth, right? So that's why they have a gun. And that is not needed in case of US astronauts, as well as in case of Indian astronauts as well, because they will be landing, splashing down in the ocean, and in the ocean we don't have the wild animals as such, right? So yeah, 6 Chinese people in space. Yes, Angel, that's all. That is also a major step which is going to happen. So as I said, Shenzhou 14, okay, we have you can see the countdown right now. Let me just also change my timer. Okay. Yeah, so I was saying that this will be the first time the astronauts of the there will be astronauts when the Shenzhou 15 crew will be arriving. So in total there will be 6 astronauts in at the same time for the first time. So that is also a big accomplishment for the Chinese space station, because although the Chinese space station is rated for many more passengers, but the air scrubbers and the life support system and the power requirements will be at max, at not max, but will be doing its will be at a more capacity, right, than previous missions. And yeah, it will be testing its load capability. So right now you can see the hatch has been properly closed. Right now it's getting closed, not properly closed, but it's getting closed. There will be a pressure check also, but almost everything is just good now. And yeah, so if you are wondering that why is there not a pressure check for the payload fairing, because the hatch which will be exposed to space will be of the re-entry module. So in that module the pressure system and everything needs to be checked so that there is no leakage and everything. This was just a payload fairing getting logged. So yeah.
Spacecraft. 3 taikonauts have moved into position, waiting for the liftoff, expected to happen in just over an hour's time. Their destination? China's own space station, which is due to be completed by the end of this year. Hello everyone, you're back watching our special coverage of the Shenzhou 15 spacecraft launch. It's part of China's efforts to build its own space station by the end of this year. The 3 taikonauts will head to the core module of China's space station, known as Tiangong. They will meet up with the Shenzhou 14 crew for the first crew handover on the space station. CGTN will also broadcast the Shenzhou 15 launch live on our French, Spanish, Russian, and Arabic channels, as well as China Radio International. Our new media platform will also live stream this event. Make sure you stay with us. I'm Zhongshi. I have Professor Yang Yuguang of the China Aerospace Science and Industry Corporation in the studio. Professor, welcome to our program. And first, let's take a look back at the highlights before the 3 taikonauts entered into the capsule. Let's check in with CGTN reporter Zheng Yibing, who is very near the Jiuquan launch site in Gansu province. Yibing, good evening to you. It seems all is going fine. The 3 taikonauts have moved into position. We're about an hour from the liftoff time. What is happening right now? What remains to be done in this window?
Well, yes, Zhongshi, good to hear you and Professor Yang.
So right now you can see all the platforms are closed because the staff was doing the job, and they will be leaving, and then the platforms will be open, and you will see the rocket getting exposed so that it can be lifted off.
Ignition stage. Well, we look at the launch pad now. The revolving platforms are about to open in just a few minutes to come. The launch pad is the earliest and the only manned mission pad in China now. It's about 100 meters tall with a main structure reaching about 75 meters and circling around the 58.3 meter tall Long March 2 FKR rocket is a revolving platforms. These are the 4 levels. They're about to open one by one in the coming half an hour. And we heard from the command center, the top level will firstly open and then come the others. Some half an hour ahead of the ignition, they were completely open, and the flight combination of the Shenzhou 15-man spaceship and the Long March 2 FKR rocket will get the final preparation. Now the taikonauts are inside the spaceship and everything goes on well. And the people inside the launch center are gathering for that moment. Not far away from me, there's this big square. People are beginning to go there. And beside me, there are the very big cameras. So just to through this platform, we can see the very detailed footage of this launch process. So that's the current situation. Back to you now.
Yibing, appreciate that timely update from you. Do keep us posted there. Thank you so much. The process of building the China Space Station has required a series of technological advances. Let's take a look at 6 of them.
Technology for recycling and environmental control are essential for the crew's survival. The space station's life support system can remove toxic gases, treat waste, and regenerate oxygen to breathe. The system drastically cuts the need for supply deliveries. An automatic temperature control system also ensures comfort on board and protects delicate devices. Electricity is also essential for operating the space station and for scientific experiments. The station has foldable solar panels less than 1 millimeter thick. The panels are half the weight per unit of area than a standard solar array on Earth, but produce double the electricity. Robotic arms help with key tasks, including spacewalks and manipulating cargo craft. The space station's chief architect Yang Hong says they outperformed expectations in positioning accuracy and capacity for motion and load carrying. The flight control system is completely Chinese built. The technology includes automated planning and scheduling, orbit determination, and forecasts. It also makes fast docking and remote control of the robotic arms possible. Inside the station, there are applications to improve Earth-space communication and coordination. Few scientists have the chance to do lab experiments in space, and sometimes astronauts would like a bit of help. That's been made possible by remote control technology with a signal delay of 2 seconds, a record for China. The Chinese space program's chief engineer, Sun Jun, says tracking and data relay satellites have made effective and accurate monitoring possible. He says an emergency launch, escape, and search and rescue mechanisms are in place to ensure the safety of the crew.
We're now about 1 hour from the liftoff. Let's talk about everything with Professor Yang Yuguan joining me here in the studio. Professor, can you help us understand what's going to happen in this 1 hour window before liftoff? A reporter talked about the gradual opening of the platforms there at the launch tower. How does that happen?
Just before this live coverage, during the last live coverage, you may heard that there are
and we can see the platforms getting opened. First of all, we can see the
also,
escape.
At this moment, we can also hear the voice.
Escape tower. We can see the platforms getting opened right now, guys. We can see the escape tower being exposed. So there you can see the separation motors as well as the abort motors. You can see those things, and then the payload fairings where the astronauts were there will be opened. So you can see that also.
The emergency escape software inside the carrier rocket will be valid. At this moment, if anything happened to the launch vehicle, we can ignite the emergency escape tower and separate the Shenzhou spaceship from the launch vehicle. And with the parachute, we have a safe landing of the astronauts.
Now, with this top floor platform opening up, we can now finally see that carrier rocket, the Long March 2F carrier rocket, that's going to carry the three taikonauts into space.
And what you see is the top is emergency escape top. Actually speaking, it is made of several solid rocket engines, and some of the rocket engines will use to pull the whole Shenzhou spaceship, actually speaking the orbital module and the re-entry capsule from the propulsion module, and then to a distance far from the launch vehicle. And some of the smaller rocket engines will be used to change its direction, to get it away from the path of the launch vehicle. So it is specially designed solid rocket motors. And just below this will be the payload fairing. The shape of this payload fairing follows what we call a common curve. With the common curve payload fairing, it will have the minimum drag to save the energy, and also the vibration during the flight caused by the aerodynamic forces will be not so intensive. So there are multiple advantages use this common curve shaped payload fairing.
And on the upper right corner, we can see the countdown time. Now it's just over 57 minutes till liftoff. Mr. Xu Yanzong is also joining me via Skype here. Mr. Xu, we were just talking about what's happening in this 1 hour window before liftoff. Of course, we're waiting with breath that is bated for that moment to happen, knowing how important this mission is. This is the last manned crew before the official completion of China's own space station, which is slated for the end of this year. Can you shed light, Mr. Xu, on what is happening in this 1 hour window of time?
They prepared the unlocking of all the systems. As you have seen that the hatches of the capsule as well as the service module and the fairing has been closed, so that the opening of the top hatch means that the activation of the escape tower. So that is also unlocked in case of emergency. In the coming minutes, 35 minutes before the ignition, we will see a series of opening of the hatch, and the last one will happen 15 minutes before because of the cold weather, extreme weather conditions, and the cold temperature. The rocket system, including some of the batteries and chips, needs to be maintained in thermal conditions. So they delay somehow the opening of the lower hatch. And then there's also the disconnection of the ground power to the rocket power. The rocket will have its own battery running just 1 minute before the ignition. So at this time, 1 hour from the launch, still the rocket itself and the capsule are powered by the ground power.
Mr. Xu, we just saw the three taikonauts.
You can actually see those, the commander has that stick in his hand because obviously he can't just press those buttons by bending over to the screen. So that's the reason why they have that stick to operate the control panel, and it is also similar to the Soyuz spacecraft.
Doing in this time, because it does seem like they're just sitting there and their colleagues on the ground are doing the final preparatory work. Is that true? Is there something that the taikonauts themselves are busy doing in this time?
Well, you are right that they have a menu in their hand, and also all the indicators of different systems in the capsule. So they're looking at the indicators, some of the sensors, so that they make sure that all the procedures are following to the right normality. Because if there is an abnormal in the capsule, they will have to report also to the control center. As you have correctly pointed out, that the launching itself, including the whole entering into space, is controlled on the ground segment, and also there is an injection of the command just 15 minutes before the launch, so that the injection of the tasking command would decide on the final launching time. What we would call the route parameter, which is very important for the orbiting insertion and including the rendezvous and docking. So all the maneuvers and the later calculation is based on these route parameters. So all of these are happening within the hour, and also the manual is important to cross-check with the ground crew that the the capsule, including the rocket conditions, are in good shape, so that they have the double check with the astronauts, including the ground segment.
Yeah, we just see on the screen what the ground staff are up to, something that they're doing in this last hour window. They're calling it a second comprehensive checkup. I assume that means, Professor Yang, help me out here, that they're checking up all the systems and they're monitoring everything to make sure that there's no malfunction, everything's working smoothly.
As you and Yan Song has already discussed, you know that there is a handbook in the hands of Mr. Fei Jinlong. You know that this is not only there are instructions of the normal procedure, but also include those of the something wrong in emergencies, how they can do and what they should do. So just in these handbooks. And also, you know that during the whole process, as you mentioned, the comprehensive checking, the second one, you know that there are multiple systems. I have mentioned the launch site system, the rocket system, the Shenzhou spaceship system, the astronaut system, and also the TT&C, all the telemetry, telecontrol, and the communication system. And very interesting, you know that although this is a launch, but the landing site system will also attend this launch. You know, that's because the rescue team belongs to the landing site system. But for any abnormal cases, if an emergency escape happened, so probably the astronauts will land on somewhere along its trajectory. So if this happens, the rescue team will try to find them as soon as possible. So also the status of the rescue team must be confirmed by the commander of the flight control. So this is also critical, all kinds of measures to ensure the safety of our astronauts. And you may heard that just several minutes before the ground control, the commander, you will call this the Commander Zero. Commander Zero, he has asked every ground station to report their status. Right. So that is also a very necessary step for all these, we call this a big system to check. And also to for this kind of, if anything wrong happened, he has the right to stop the whole procedure.
And we will keep hearing from all of those tracking units after the liftoff as well to make sure that things are going smoothly. Mr. Xu, one more question for you. Can you also talk to us about how the taikonauts selected for this mission have trained for this moment? I mean, one of them is a veteran, but he hasn't flown in 17 years' time. Mr. Deng, the other one, who was also one of the first generation astronauts, he waited over 2 decades for his first manned flight. You know, people were saying, could they have been rusty in their skills? But Professor Yang explained to me in the last hour that they have been continuously training for today. Talk to us, Mr. Xu, about how they trained.
Mr. Deng has been famous for a backup plan. He has been a backup astronaut for a couple of previous missions. So we know that they have been intensively trained, and also they're on the edge and ready to be flown to the outer space. Mr. Fei Jinlong is the second mission of the manned mission. Of course, you know Shenzhou 5 is the first Yang launched and land safely to be the first astronauts, and Shenzhou 6 is where Mr. Fei has been flown. So these are, you know, a good combination of a 25-year-old, 25-year trainee, and also a veteran, including also a newcomer that also came.
It's minus 17.3 degrees there, extremely cold. I don't know what that 25 kilometer or 30 kilometer was, but other than that, there was a wind speed, and then the temperature and other thing was also there, which we don't know. And this is a very cool view of the Shenzhou, the Long March 2F rocket with the moon. And we all know what is happening on the moon right now. The Artemis mission is there in the distance retrograde orbit and making sure everything is working fine. So yeah, will be amazing to see. Yes, it is indeed very cold, and you know, in these cold conditions, the fuels and the management of the fuels is actually very difficult because it just freezes up. and you need to maintain a healthy 20 degrees or so temperature for the UDMH and N2O4 for proper what should I say, um, optimal conditions for the fuel to burn. Yeah. 30 kilometer. Yes, Bogie Holtroll, welcome to the stream, and I think that is the case. Yes, you are right about that. I think that's the visibility. Maybe a Chinese person who is there would be able to better tell us, but yes, it looks like that was the visibility, because it was previously 25 kilometer, now it's 30 kilometers, so visibility has improved, which is good to hear. And you can see now the staff is getting ready to clear the pad, and once that happens, the other platforms will start opening.
We don't have much experience in what criteria we should choose for the training, and also what kind of courses they should have during their training. So just we conducted so many testing to do this, and today we've already very be practical. And even you know that, as you already asked, the when we choose the second batch, we've already conducted several flight missions. So at this moment, we are more experienced, and at this moment, we already know how to choose them and what criteria we should choose. And also, for a certain mission, it has already been much better than before. So that is the difference. And moreover, you see that another very important thing is we choose the second generation, including 2 female astronauts, Miss Liu Yang and Miss Wang Yaping. And you know that the difference is that all the male astronauts, including those from the first batch and the second batch, were chosen from the fighter pilots. But for the female astronauts, you know that Miss Liu Yang and Miss Wang Yaping, they are freighter pilots. Because at that moment we don't have much female fighter pilots. But still, they are well qualified and very, you know, that this already been the Shenzhou 14 is the second mission of Miss Liu Yang. So Miss Liu Yang and Miss Wang Yaping are very great, outstanding astronauts, even among all these astronauts. So that's a great difference. But you know that in the future, as we've already discussed, this time we have 1 veteran and 2 newcomers, this configuration. In the future, according to the announcement of the China Manned Space Agency, next year, probably we will have the astronauts conducting the next missions chosen from the 3rd group. And you know, today we have 18 members during the 3rd group. 7 of them were pilots. 7 of them were flight engineers, and 4 of them are payload experts. So this is time, you know, that it is more different from the first and the second batch. We can recognize all the members from the first and second batch are pilots. Well, you know that at this time, the 3rd batch, not all of them are pilots from the Air Force. Some of them are scientists and engineers, I mean the 4 payload experts. So this time, this is because with the completion of the construction of our station, we need more professional staff to conducting the scientific research in our space station. And it is the right moment for China to choose the astronauts from the scientists or the engineers. So this is quite different. And moreover, among these 18 members of the 3rd group, there were also 1 female astronaut.
Increasingly diverse backgrounds, obviously,
Exactly.
which also opens up our imagination when we consider who will be sent into the China Space Station in the future. Could there even be commercial flights that just ordinary people could be passengers? That's really that's a possibility. But hold that thought, Professor Yang. I'll be coming back to you in just a few moments' time. Earlier, Fei Junlong, Deng Qingming, and Zhang Lu talked to the press at a news conference at the Jiuquan Satellite Launch Center in northwestern China. Veteran taikonauts Fei Junlong will be the mission commander. Take a listen.
首先，我代表乘组，向大家对我
On
们乘组
behalf
的
of
祝
the
贺。
Shenzhou 15 crew, we express our heartfelt gratitude to everyone.
17年前
I was on a Shenzhou 16 17 years ago. Now, this time, we're going to China Space Station. We're so excited and we're full of pride.
所以在为期
For
半
the
年多的
6-month
飞行
mission,
中，
we have more experiments and assignments lined up. including some more difficult extravehicular activities, but we're fully prepared and trained for all tasks. We're fully confident of completing our tasks, and we believe the Chinese people will leave more footprints in space. We're ready.
The Shenzhou 15 is scheduled for liftoff today at 11:08 p.m. Beijing time. The 3 crew members will meet up with the waiting Shenzhou 14 crew and perform the first handover at the space station.
神舟15号乘组，战友们，我们已经等了很久这一刻。
天上宫阙带君来，我们等你们哟。
与你们的相遇，也意味着我们马上就要返回。真希望和你们一起并肩战斗，但是我们的心会和你们始终在一起。
You can already see so much space in there. Actually, you can already see that. There is so much space on CSS as compared to ISS. Obviously, ISS is a old hardware and CSS is a modern one. So the cleanliness and the management of all those wires is a thing which we should not expect. Which we should expect, sorry.
Characteristics.
Tens of thousands of satellites and spacecraft are now orbiting some 400 kilometers above Earth's surface. Among them is a large manned spacecraft that might catch your eye. It's the Tiangong Space Station. These sites and having floated through space for so long, how is the Tiangong maintaining power? The answer to that comes down to these 2 pairs of flexible solar arrays, which generate 80% of the entire space station's electricity. They have special heat-driving devices, wrist-like bearing units to help rotate these 2 solar arrays 360 degrees to face the sunlight in unblocked positions. Each pair has a total length of around 55 meters. Space engineers say these 4 big solar winds generate nearly 1,000 kilowatt-hour of electricity per day, which is equivalent to the electricity consumption of an ordinary family for nearly half a year. By the way, the thing crawling outside the Tiangong Space Station right now is a robotic arm. It has 7 adjustable levels, just as flexible as a human's arm. Now, taikonauts can stand on the robotic arm and move around quickly. This enables them to be a lot more efficient during the installation work or maintenance tasks. All right.
This is a very unique thing for the CSS, that the robotic arm can be used for those work. Spacewalks.
You can see how bright and spacious this place is. It's a large space of 110 cubic meters with so many rooms, so don't get lost. This is the Tianhe core module, the main living space for astronauts. There are 3 different sleeping areas where you can lie down and sleep. Actually, there are another 3 sleeping areas in Wentian lab module, which will support up to 6 taikonauts on board. There are over 120 kinds of food here, so taikonauts will have a different menu every day. All right, dinner is over, time for exercise. We have a running machine or a bicycle. The choice is yours. Scientists developed a special recycling system to support life in space. The system can collect moisture, volatilized water, and carbon dioxide released by the taikonauts. Even their urine is processed. All of that is done through subsystems such as electrolytic oxygen production, drinking water collection and treatment, urine treatment, and carbon dioxide and harmful gas removal. Can you imagine? Within just a year, the system has recycled over 2,600 kilograms of water. That's a sufficient amount of water for a person to drink over a span of 2 years. Now we can't forget our daily necessities, the internet. On China's space station, taikonauts can now use a mobile app to control the lights.
Wow.
Just like this. And inquire about the storage and supply of the materials. And if you miss your family or friends back on Earth, you can make phone calls, chat through video calls, send and receive emails. Now let's take a closer look at the lab modules. The Wentian lab is mainly for the scientific research of life in space, including the growth and development of different types of plants, animals, and microorganisms. For example, here is a key experimental cabinet called Universal Biological Cultivation Module, where the rice and Arabidopsis are planted. In fact, Chinese taikonauts and students on the ground carried out an experiment in which the same seed was planted. The seeds grow under different gravity conditions, enabling them to study the mechanisms of growth. The Mengtian is mainly for the scientific research of microgravity. In addition to the 13 cabinets inside Mengtian, there are also 37 payload positions outside the cabinet. There's a special piece of equipment in the Mengtian lab module for releasing micro spacecraft. With the help of astronauts, the payload transfer tube, and the robotic arm, the equipment will eject small satellites weighing about 100 kilograms into orbit, just like a slingshot. So now you've seen everything from the outside to the inside. 9 international experimental projects selected from 17 countries and regions will be sent to the Tiangong later. In the future, overseas friends, astronauts, and scientists are all welcome to work and live in China's space station. The starry sky is vast and bright. Chinese and foreign scientists will join together to explore more possibilities of the vast universe on the big platform known as the Tiangong.
Wow, that was something. That was indeed something. They had a. This is what you called a proper PR of the space station. We got to know everything that was there inside the station, and it was amazing to see. So Angel asked, do we have a fast mode docking, 6 or 7 hours? So yes, there will be a fast mode docking, and the docking is actually reduced to under 3 hours. So it's not 6 to 7 hours, but actually reduced to under 3 hours. It was usually used to be 3 hours. Now it is under 3 hours. So with every launch, they are trying to optimize their trajectory and make it more faster.
Taikonauts have great professionalism and dedication to their jobs. For Commander Fei Junlong, this will be his second journey to space since his previous mission 17 years ago. He always trains hard and sets very high standards. Deng Qingming was one of the first cohorts of China's taikonauts and has held his position for close to 25 years. Although he missed out on previous space voyages, he never gave up. The Shenzhou 15 mission is the realization of his dream, which is inspiring to many. When I heard him answering questions from journalists, I could not hold back my tears. I feel very proud of him. Zhang Lu belongs to the second cohort. It's great for him to realize his dream after 12 years of perseverance and hard work. These three taikonauts are so inspiring and possess great professionalism and dedication.
The Shenzhou 14 and 15 crews will be in orbit at the same time. What are the missions for the 6 taikonauts?
The handover period for the 2 crews is 5 days. Before its completion, the Shenzhou 14 crew is responsible for the duties at the space station. And then it's the turn of the Shenzhou 15 crew. The former will introduce and guide the latter, helping them to adjust to the environment. Then the former will return to the Earth and the latter will assist them during the process. Such coordination was rehearsed on the ground. And we arranged the space and ground communication via audio and video. The Shenzhou 14 crew also shared their experiences and offered support. This time, the Shenzhou 15 crew has prepared gifts for their departing peers. I believe they will have a great time together during the handover.
Let's continue our discussions in the studio with Professor Yang Yuguang. I really enjoyed that immersive tour given by my colleague Wu Lei just now, which really gives us an insider look into the functioning
We are
module.
T-minus 32 minutes from the launch, but 2.4 meter per second is the wind speed, and you can see it's really cold there, minus 17.3 degrees Celsius. Not so sure about that zero. What does that zero means, but yeah, we are looking good for the launch. The platforms are slowly opening. We will see the rapid opening of the platforms very soon too.
100 tons, and that will be quite incredible. So the 6 of them will co-work in that confined space for about 5 days, as we just heard from the chief designer there. Will that be a rather crowded time for all of them? Or because the maximum capacity is 6 people, and now the 6 people will have to co-work and co-live for 5 days?
Not very crowded. You see that, you know, that in the initial stage of the International Space Station, the living quarter is located in the Zvezda module made by Russia. But in this module, there are only 2 sleeping chambers, and there are 3 crew members. So if they want to speak at the same moment, there is no one, there is no sleeping chambers. But for the China's Tiangong Space Station, you know, there are 3 sleeping chambers located in the Tianhe 1 core module. But there are also another 3 sleeping chambers located in the Wentian module, and also we have 2 toilets. So it is not so crowded for the 6 people, and you know that their daily work is based on Beijing time, and so at the moment for sleeping, there are private sectors for each crew members, so they are not very crowded. But indeed, they will be really busy, as we've already discussed. There are so many works to be handed over. And also, not only those are for the scientific research, but also the operation, the normal operation of the daily work of the space station. And now you can see that this is the launch complex, and as we've already discussed, the first or the top rotational platform has already been opened. And then, as Yibing has already mentioned,
and just a quick reminder, we're now half an hour from that liftoff.
Exactly. But as you mentioned, their meeting will be a historical moment. But actually speaking, just 40 minutes. Okay,
yes,
T-minus 30 minutes and
yes,
counting.
T-minus 30 minutes. We just heard from ground control and command.
But actually speaking, just 40 minutes later, we will have 6 astronauts. We will have 6 Chinese astronauts in orbit, because the flight of the Long March 2F is about 10 minutes.
Yes. 10 very exciting moments. We will bring you full coverage of the ignition, liftoff, and of course the rocket going into orbit there. So make sure you stay with us right here on CGTN. I mean, what we will also witness is the 3-module, 3 spaceship configuration, which doesn't happen very often, especially when the Shenzhou 14 crew members return to Earth. I mean, this is really the largest configuration of the China Space Station.
Yes, but you should also notice that just before the technology verification phase, we only have the
see the opening of the platforms for the rest of the rocket. You can see the first of all that payload fairing in which the astronauts were there, and then the rocket upper part of the rocket is being exposed, which means the crew, the staff, the support staff has already left the pad, and this is the reason why they are going in for the opening today.
Just near the launch site, he joins me now with an update. Yibing, what do you have for us? We just heard from ground command and control that is 30 minutes, not even 30 minutes until liftoff. What is happening right now?
Hello, Zhongshi. Well, let me update the situation here. Well, actually, we just heard from the command center that the command sequence has handed over to the zero commander. That means we have entered the final phase of the launch sequence. Now, many people have gathered in this area some 1.5 kilometers away from the launch pad and waiting for the moment of liftoff of the Long March 2 FKR rocket with Shenzhou 15th spacecraft on top of it as a payload. Tonight, the temperature here at the Jiuquan Satellite Launch Center is really low. Now the temperature has dropped to minus 20 degrees Celsius, but the weather condition is pretty good according to the meteorologist. And the wind speed now is only 3 meters per second, and the temperature is about that. But half an hour after the first level of the resolving platform circling around the flat combination, they opened, and the other two gradually opened, and 5 minutes later, the last of the 4 levels will also open. This is the same with the launch sequence of the Shenzhou 14 in June. At that time, I was at the live shot spot just 150 meters away from the launch pad and was ready to retreat from that area to where I'm standing now. This is the first time I see manned launch mission at night. And when I think of the 3 taikonauts inside the capsule, I feel it really amazing because they're about to take off and headed to the China Space Station and meet the 3 Shenzhou 14 crew members. And it's the first time that 6 taikonauts will be in the orbit at the same time and in the Tiangong Space Station at the same time for 5 days. It's a milestone for completing the construction of China's space station very soon. So everybody now is excited. Everybody is waiting to see that moment. Back to you.
It's incredible to think that all that meet and greet will happen in a handful of hours. We will be watching with you, CGTN's Zheng Yibing, live near the launch site in Jiuquan, Gansu Province. Thank you so much. And for more perspectives on international cooperation in space, let me bring my guest, Mani Shankar Prasad, Director of the Amity Institute of Space Science and Technology under Amity University in New Delhi. Sir, thank you so much for joining us today on our special program. China's Space Station is expected to be completed by the end of this year. What kind of international cooperation do you expect? Mr. Prasad, do I have you with me here?
Yeah, I'm here. Good afternoon.
Good day to you. I was wondering about your perspectives on possible international cooperation. On the completed China Space Station, the completion is slated by the end of the year.
Yep.
What does international cooperation look like when that space station is complete, sir?
Yeah, that you see, the space station with China is going to put it in 2022. There is a large number of people who are international people are interested in this. You see, you must have heard that Italian Space Agency has already signed an agreement to become a member of this and do some scientific experiments. Also, United Nations Office of Outer Space Affairs is actively involved in this affair of International Space Station of China. India also is interested in doing some of the experiments with the colleagues in China. So it's a large number of people are going to, best part in China Space Station and space endeavor is that we are not only looking for developed countries, but you are also giving an opportunity to, developing countries who can become a part of a spacefaring or a space race. That's we expect a large number of cooperation of such type of countries in the endeavor of Chinese space station.
I mean, with the International Space Station, we've seen close cooperation among astronauts from various countries. China hasn't exactly ruled out that possibility, which means that foreign astronauts could possibly join their Chinese counterparts once China's own space station is completed. How important is international cooperation in the advancement of technologies, in the advancement of space programs?
See, India has got its own space program, but as well as cooperation goes, we have a tie-up. Like if you remember on your 15 experiments which China has selected containing fluid, fire, behavior, bio and astronomy. One of the experiments being conducted is a very large experiment with the Indo-Russian together. That's a nebular gas or map dust clouds. So we are going to cooperate and become a part of the International Space Station experiments as well as getting into new scientific endeavor. It's not that we are going to keep it as a closed room discussion. We are going to certainly become a part of Chinese Space Station and try and see how our manned space mission also becomes successful through this. I hope this meets the answer.
Mr. Prasad, we certainly appreciate your time and your analysis. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Founded in 1951, the International Astronautical Federation is the world's leading space advocacy organization, comprising 468 members.
To invite an Indian representative to talk about this international cooperation matters for the CSS is itself a very good gesture from them, because we know what is happening with the geopolitics of India and China, but at least in space, things are kind of different. Things are kind of, opening up, so which is also like good to hear. So yeah, let's hope. I hope that is it just progresses and we get to learn and cooperate more.
Or even the launch of Shenzhou 5 in October 2003, where actually for the first time China was launching its first astronaut, Mr. Yang Yiwei, to space, which I think the whole world was kind of really excited about. China became the third country to be able to send humans to space after the Soviet Union and the United States. China is one of the leading countries in low Earth orbit, with having their own infrastructure, having all the systems in place to supply this platform. And now, of course, with Shenzhou 15, bringing the number of astronauts in the space station to 6, of course, is kind of giving the signal, well, it's ready, it's kind of built, it's ready to be used, it's ready to do the science on a full-fledged scale. And I think the whole world is actually watching.
After years of efforts, the China space station is scheduled for completion by the end of the year. What expectations does IF have for it?
The expectation, of course, is that it may stay on low Earth orbit for a long time, operational, do all the science which China and the Chinese people are planning and expecting to implement there. And of course, the expectation is also that it will open up to become another international platform. We are always extremely happy to welcome our Chinese colleagues and specialists and high-level representatives to present these achievements to a global audience. We look forward to hearing again from our Chinese colleagues at our upcoming International Astronautical Congress in October next year in Baku in Azerbaijan.
Though in the National Space Laboratory, the China Space Station is open to global scientists. what opportunities do you see for other space agencies, astronauts, and engineers?
The opportunities are of course countless, I would say. I mean, all the range of science you can do in low Earth orbit, important for knowledge and improvement of the situation on Earth, but also science to prepare for going further, doing the next step, going to the moon, maybe to Mars. And we see already that international corporations are set up and international partners are going together doing joint scientific projects on the China Space Station. And this makes us very confident that this will still continue and even intensify in the coming years. And we from the International Astronautical Federation, we are really excited to monitor this, be part of it, and provide the platform to inform a global community of these achievements.
I want to talk about all of this with Professor Yang Yuguang here in the studio. Professor, before I pick your brain on international cooperation, I do want to go back a little bit to the criteria topic that you mentioned just now. Obviously, we're seeing increasingly diverse backgrounds of future astronauts here in China, so they don't have to be pilots, fighter jet pilots. They can be engineers. They can come from other backgrounds. But have we decided on what qualities are necessary, what criteria are must-haves for future astronauts?
For any astronauts, whether you are a pilot or a flight engineer or a payload expert, you must experience the liftoff and also the landing. So this is the most crucial environment the astronaut must facing. So their training, including their the G-load or the overload training, and also the vibration training adaptation, and also they must conduct the rescue training. You know that in an emergency case, the Shenzhou spaceship can land it anywhere, maybe a desert, maybe in the lake, or even in the sea. So they must be trained they can survive before the reach of the rescue team. So this is a very crucial and very tough training for the astronaut, no matter what role you are. So these astronauts, in the future, I believe also for the foreign astronauts, if in the future we plans to send them into our space station, they must also conduct these kind of trainings. Moreover, you see, a certain mission will be faced by certain kind of trainings. For instance, if they want to conduct the EVA, they must be trained in the water purification.
So thank you so much, Chris, for that 799. Really appreciate it, man. It really helps me, and thank you so much for all the contents, and all the best to Shenzhou 15. Indeed, all the best to Shenzhou 15. This is the first mission which is carrying the experiments from all over the world. So it's indeed an important mission and a final mission for the construction of the space station, the Chinese space station. So let's hope this is a fully successful one. So we are T minus 15 minutes 43 seconds until launch. Everything is looking good. And it's a night launch with the UDMH N2O4 fuel. It would look amazing when it lifts off. So we'll have to wait and see those plumes when it lifts off. So let's hope everything would be amazing to look at.
For instance, such as
T minus 15 minutes.
Great. So at this moment, you can see that all the rotational platform has already been opened. We can see the whole body of our Long March 2F.
Let's take this opportunity, Professor, and talk about that.
15 minutes countdown.
That Long March 2F rocket obviously consists of different parts. We have 4 boosters at the bottom of the rocket, and then we have the stage 1 and stage 2, and then the spacecraft.
Quite right. The Long March 2F is a 2.5 stage rocket dedicated for launch payload into the low Earth orbit. The capability, if there are 2 versions of this Long March 2F, one for crewed missions and one for unmanned missions. For the crewed missions, the capability is more than 8.9 tons. And for unmanned missions, the capability is more than 8.6 tons. Because you know that for a crewed mission, we must have an emergency escape system. The shape is different. And for this, as I mentioned, this Long March 2F is the only human-rated launch vehicle of China, which means that the reliability of this launch vehicle is much higher than a common launch vehicle. The rudiment of this launch vehicle is Long March 2E. The maiden flight is in 1990. But after the establishment of our manned space program, there are so many improvements on the Long March 2E, and then finally we get this Long March 2F. At the initial stage, the reliability of this launch vehicle can reach to 0.97. It is already very high, but still not safe enough for our astronauts. We added a malfunction detection system on board this Long March 2F rocket. 0.97, the reliability means that for every 100 launch, maybe there are 3 times the rocket have some dangerous things happen. But you know that this is not safe enough for the astronauts. And then we added an emergency escape system to this launch vehicle. And with the help of this emergency escape system, the safety for the astronauts can reach to 0.997, which means for 1,000 launch, only 3 times, maybe the life of our astronauts will be threatened. So this is already safe enough. But still, for all these years, we have so many improvements on this launch vehicle and the performance.
Hey, Louis Smith, welcome back. It's been a long time since you are here. Welcome to the stream. Yep, indeed, it would be hell of a launch, and hopefully we get to see its beauty. UDMH N204 at night. What else do you want?
With Tiangong Space Station. The basic requirement why we choose this moment to launch the rocket is because that only when the launch site rotates along with the Earth, when it passing through the orbital plane of our Tiangong Space Station, only at this moment we can launch it. The basic requirement is that the launch vehicle must send the spacecraft into the same orbital plane of our Tiangong. So that is the reason why we choose a 0 launch window. The accuracy of the liftoff moment must be less than 1 second. So this is the initial stage in about 2011. During the Shenzhou 8 mission, we achieved this 0 launch window. But in all these years, it is also continually improved because you know that we have some design margin.
Whoa, just look at this beautiful rocket, and you can see those separation thrusters also there to make sure those go off as per the plan, and then those fins for aerodynamic stability. You can also see those engines at a slightly at an angle so that the plume of that engine does not interfere with the main core booster fuel. So plume, a very you can say a good design to have, because this is also used in this Indian launchers also. So it's kind of a thing which is used in most of the launchers, but it's kind of, you can say, a very traditional design, to be honest, but we have that because it works.
The safety of astronauts is the most important aspect of all manned missions. But what if the rocket fails during its flight period? Chinese scientists have developed an escape tower which is installed at the top of the rocket. In case of an emergency, its own engines will kick in and drag the spaceship away from danger. We are now at one of the assembly buildings at Jiuquan Satellite Launch Center. This is a real escape.
Look at that separation and the escape motor.
For the Long March 2F Y-16 rocket, it's only the main part, but the total length of this escape
You can also see those steering rocket motors.
Shi Hongbin has been developing the escape tower engine system for over 20 years. He says China started to develop the escape tower back in 1992. After years of research and hundreds of ground tests, Chinese scientists conducted a comprehensive successful test launch of the escape tower and the rocket in 1998.
The escape tower starts working at an altitude of 0 to 39 kilometers and between 0 to 120 seconds after the launch. It has a main escape engine, a separate engine, and 4 engines in a control system. So the entire escape tower has 6 engines.
The current escape tower has been quite stable over the past 20 years, as China is developing its next generation rockets for manned lunar missions. More advanced escape towers also on the way.
We are now upgrading the escape tower. The new tower will be stronger as the new spaceship is larger. So we will use a variable thrust engine to make the escape system more reliable and safe.
Whoa. That is something. Variable thrust in a escape tower.
China sent its first astronaut Yang Liwei into space in 2003. And since then, Shi Hongbin and his team have been in Jiuquan, helping guarantee the life support system of astronauts during each manned mission.
It is a matter of astronauts' life during the mission. It's better if they don't ever need to use our escape tower, but if they do, they will get the service of the highest standard.
China's space station will be fully completed by the end of 2022 and will host more astronauts, scientists, and engineers. The escape tower will continuously play a key role in manned space missions and deep space exploration. Wu Lei, CGTN, Jiuquan Satellite Launch Center.
We're now about 8 minutes until liftoff. I'm now joined in the studio by Professor Yang Yuguang. Professor, talk to us about what's happening in those last minutes. Just now, we saw some minibuses pull over, so the evacuation of ground staff obviously happened already.
You may notice, although all the rotational platform has already been opened, but still there are some arms, some arms in orange color, very close to the launch vehicle. In these arms, we have cables and pipes. So still, we have, as Yan Song has already mentioned, we have the electricity provided from the launch complex to the spacecraft. And only about 1 to 2 minutes before the launch, before liftoff, we will switch the power supply from the ground to the batteries inside. So only at this moment we can unplug all these connections. And also, you know that our Long March 2F launch vehicle adopted a hyperbolic propulsion system, which means that it is in common temperature. Actually speaking, it is UDMH, unsymmetrical dimethyl hydrazine, and also this as a fuel, and also nitrogen tetroxide as the oxidizer. This is very convenient for use because it is in common temperature. Oh, we can see the camera inside the...
It takes two to tango, says it is an unused escape tower retrieved. No. First of all, there is nothing called an unused escape tower because there is this separation motors, which is if the escape motor does not engage, there are separation motor which engages so that the escape tower is jettisoned. So some way or the another, it is being used. Also, there is just does not make any sense to retrieve that escape tower. It just falls away in the ocean most probably. And the reason is because it's using a solid rocket motor and a very small little amount of fuel. So therefore it's not a very expensive hardware to retrieve. Rather, the economics to retrieve that escape tower would be more than the to just let it go away and make a new one. So yeah, there's that. So T minus 5 minutes 30 seconds remaining. Everything is looking good. We you can see the rocket in its all its glory, standing on the launch pad to be launched in just few minutes from now. The Shenzhou 15 crew will meet the Shenzhou 14 crew in the orbit, which will bring the astronauts or the taikonauts number to 6 on the Chinese space station, which itself is a great number to have, making sure. Okay.
T minus 5 minutes. We're waiting.
So yeah, we are T minus 5 minutes, under T minus 5 minutes from the launch. I am actually very excited for this one. So yeah, as I was saying, the Shenzhou 14 crew will meet with the Shenzhou 15, bringing the astronaut count to 6, which is the maximum the CSS has ever experienced, hosted. So the life support, the power system, the bionics will be a little bit stressed, but yeah, it itself is a sign that the CSS is almost complete. So also this is the final mission before the completion of this CSS. So after this mission, the Chinese space station will be fully completed, and yeah, the duration of this mission will be around 6 months. Also, the docking time after the launch will be under 3 hours. So it was before before it was 3 hours some minutes. Now it's under 3 hours. So they're always trying to optimize the trajectory, optimize the orbital mechanics and all those, so that the astronauts can you know, dock with the the Chinese space station, Tiangong Space Station, as fast as possible. You don't want to be crammed in such a little room, right? So yeah, there's that, and we are looking good for an on-time liftoff right now.
Of the mass of the re-entry capsule. It is also carefully designed.
The cargo you mentioned in orange, right? That's
exactly
in their return capsule.
Countdown in 3 minutes.
T-minus 3 minutes.
We also have cameras mounted on the rotational arms to monitoring the unplugging procedure to ensure the reliability. Still, at this moment, we believe that we still have cables connected to the launch vehicle.
Yeah, you can see the arms are still tightly around that carrier rocket.
Exactly.
When will they be retracted?
And according to your colleagues, that the wind is not so very strong. So although it is in extremely low temperature, but the wind is not strong, so it is good for the launch.
Wind speed, obviously.
Talking about extremely low temperature, it's around minus 17 degrees in there. So yeah, there's that. Wow, what a shot. What a shot with the moon and the rocket behind that. It looks amazing out there. We are T-minus 2 minutes from the launch. It's happening, guys. Whoa.
Previous mission, the Shenzhou 14 mission, the crew members are still inside the China space station. They will be working together in the space station for a period of 5 days. So it will be the first crew in cabin, in station handover between 2 different crews. A historic moment in
a proper handshake of the crew will happen for the first time on the CSS. Wow.
4 engines on the first stage. The 4 engines called YF-27. Each
T-minus 1 minute 20 seconds remaining, guys. It is finally happening. Just wait and see now.
So during the liftoff, we have 8 engines.
Oh, wow.
They will ignite simultaneously.
One minute.
T-minus 60 seconds remaining. The rocket is in battery power. You will see the those arms getting retracted very soon right now.
See the rotation of the arms away from the body of the rocket.
Wow,
Yes,
just look at that.
The arms are moving now. They are being retracted to release the carrier rocket.
T-minus 30 seconds remaining. It's happening. Okay. All right. Get ready to witness. T-minus 20, 19, 18, 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 6,
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ignition.
Ignition. Okay, they messed up. Ignition. Whoa, look at that. Just look at that go. Whoa. What a view.
3 Chinese astronauts in space.
Pitch over.
That was something.
The pitch over happening about 12 seconds into the flight.
The tower is already clear. We can see the white flames very bright in the night.
Dude, did you just see those guys? Did you just see that moon? Wow.
The status is normal. Oh, this is the camera mounted on the launch vehicle.
And
Everything is looking good. You can see the onboard camera views. Wow.
Tell us how the flight is going. We'll continue to hear them throughout the process.
So the next critical step will be the jettisoning of the emergency escape top about 2 minutes after liftoff. At this moment, we can see that this is a video mounted on the body of the maybe the second stage, and we can see 2 of the boosters and their flames, and we can see the cabin inside the re-entry capsule, and the 3 astronauts are in very good status.
Wow.
We cannot see the vibration.
Just look at that plume. Wow. This is what I was talking about. Just look at that plume, the UDMH plume at night. Wow. You can see now the plume is getting expanded, which is supposed to happen. Nothing to worry about.
And when it is reached the supersonic status, it will experience the largest aerodynamic forces called the max Q.
Max Q will happen soon.
It will be supersonic and will be safer and safer.
Oh, there you go. The jettison of the escape tower.
The escape towers have come off. This is 2 minutes into the flight.
Exactly. And then will be the separation of the 4 boosters.
We're monitoring to see the 4 boosters coming off.
The next step is to jettison the 4 side boosters. You will see very soon.
I mean, you know, the taikonauts do seem to be doing fine, but this is the part where they
we
feel
have separation.
A lot of discomfort, and as you can see, the boosters are
just
coming
look
off.
at that.
You can see a cross of the 4 boosters.
Wow.
And the first stage has already been separated.
First stage is also separated. The second stage.
And the second stage will work much longer than the first stage. It has one.
Just look at that cross.
It is
wow.
A vacuum version of the first stage engine. It is similar, but
the second stage has ignited. You can see that in action right now.
The second stage have 4 vernier engines with smaller thrust, but they are
talking about look at that. Okay, talking about that, what were those things that fall off Doom Shepherd? Those were not the ice actually, those were the tiles. And the payload fairing is jettisoned.
Separated.
That's the payload fairing. The payload fairing is what protects.
Wow, look at this radar view. This looks so awesome.
You can see the beautiful flames of the
wow. This is one hell of a launch, the most beautiful launch that I have ever witnessed.
I mean, the fact that they're flipping through their manual seems to suggest they're doing
they are just
very well.
Reading the parameters on the control panel and to judge whether.
Okay, yeah. So I was saying those things which fell off were the protective tiles, which is used for the N2O for UDMH rockets, because those rockets needs a insulation protection because they work at around 20 degrees Celsius or something. So those heat tiles, insulation tiles, provide proper insulations when it is not in operation. And once the rocket ignites, you don't need them anymore. So that's why they fall off because of the vibration and the sound.
Exactly. So along the downrange trajectory, we have multiple ground stations, including those with the telescopes or optical telescopes to take videos like this. And also we have the readers.
You can see the main engine running as well as the vernier engine running right now. This is a very good shot, which actually makes us see that, and that red hot line plumbing also.
Stage will shut down as we go further into the flight. Is that what's going to happen next?
Exactly. So I've already been discussed that the payload fairing has already been separated. So the next critical step will be shutdown of the main engine. But at this moment, theoretically speaking, it is already in orbit, but maybe not accurate enough. So we will use the 4 vernier engines, the 4 smaller engines, to adjust its trajectory.
Got it.
So another ground station reports that the status is normal.
You can actually see those the plume of the vernier engine is actually hitting the nozzle of the main engine, which is itself looking very good, to be honest, right? Although it's not so much interfering with it, so that's why you can see those things is all right for them. So vernier engine's plume is actually hitting that nozzle of the main engine.
Already captured the vehicle. It is already close to Qingdao. And the separation of the spacecraft and the launch vehicle will be in the to the east of the China's sea coast.
I mean, Qingdao is on China's east coast. The Kira rocket lifted off from the northwest of China.
Yes.
In a few minutes' time, it moved from northwest of China to the east coast of the country.
And before the end of the working of the rocket, the altitude will be about 200 kilometers.
Have they passed the period where they feel most discomfort now? I mean, for the taikonauts?
Exactly. You see that the most inconvenient part is during the flight of the first stage, because you know that because of the aerodynamic forces, there are many intensive vibration. But at this moment, you know that they've already in a vacuum condition. The payload fairing has already separated. Another ground station reports that the USB and also the another data link is normal.
I wonder what they're thinking right now, especially for Mr. Deng, who waited so long, over 2 decades for this time. It's finally happening, a dream come true for him.
And we can see the main engine has shut down. The vernier engine is still running right now.
Orbit, but maybe not accurate enough. So the full vernier engine will adjust its trajectory precisely.
Yep.
And we can see on the top right of the screen is the camera, an infrared camera, taking the videos of the vehicle.
Oh, that was amazing. This looks amazing, those plumes hitting the nozzle of the engine.
Looking at the separation of the spacecraft from the carrier rocket, which will happen any minute now.
You can see the 3 crew members are very relaxed now.
Smiles on their faces.
Exactly.
As they have passed that most difficult period of time. A big relief, I would imagine, for all 3 of them.
As I emphasized, actually speaking, they've already in orbit.
But they're now adjusting
the accuracy
of the trajectory.
Yes. So the next step will be the shutdown of the 4 vernier engines.
As we mentioned, the main engine was shut down just a few moments ago.
You know, that's the engine during the liftoff, the thrust is 75 tons. But you know, that's the second stage, although it used the same type of engine, but it is a vacuum version. And the thrust is bigger because it is vacuum condition. Changjiang 6 means Yuanwang 6 space tracking ship in the Pacific Ocean. So it is already gets the data
They have
link.
now identified the object.
Exactly.
Where is this camera? This is
a camera mounted on the top of the launch vehicle towards the spacecraft.
Oh, we can see the separation and a proper deviation also. So this happens for the Shenzhou spacecraft. It separates from the second stage and immediately fires its RCS thruster so that it is a bit horizontal from the second stage, so that it just does not for some reason, if the separation is not proper, the second stage and the Shenzhou spacecraft does not hit each other. That is why they fire the RCS thrusters horizontally to actually just separate out of the way from both of them. So now the Shenzhou 15 spacecraft is in proper orbit, and now the docking period will start. The docking will be done in under 3 hours. We can see those pen, they are already playing with the 0G, right? Yeah, so the docking will take place in under 3 hours. Other than that, everything is looking good. The next step is the deployment of the solar panels.
We're now 6 minutes into the flight, and the separation of the spacecraft from the carrier rocket has happened, indicating initial success of the flight.
Let's remember this moment. Just now, with the separation of the second stage, with China, we've already have 6 astronauts in orbit.
6 astronauts in orbit now. They will meet and greet in just a handful of hours. We will bring you special coverage on that as well. One thing to be sure is that the Shenzhou 15 crew will be very warmly welcomed by their Shenzhou 14 colleagues.
We heard the voice of the Yuanwang 6 or the Changjiang 6, the space tracking ship. The tracking is normal. And the next step will be the unfolding of the solar panels mounted on the propulsion module. The Shenzhou spaceship adopted a 3-module design. On the rear part is the propulsion module, which has 2 solar wings. The Beijing Flight Control Center has sent the command to unfolding the panel. Tianlu means Tianlian data relay satellite.
It takes a minute between the sending of the command and then the opening of the panels.
Yes.
And we have the
solar panel has unfolded and opened, prompting another applause from nervous ground staff watching every step of the flight.
Whoa, just look at that.
I mean, this is another crucial step indicating that things have gone well. And would you say that the spaceship is now pretty much in orbit, or is it still adjusting?
It's already in a right orbit. The next step, we will, based on the telemetry data, we will measure or determine the orbit and evaluate each parameter to evaluate whether to judge it is accurate enough. And only when it is accurate enough can be announced that it is a successful launch. Because that's the purpose of this launch. This spacecraft is to rendezvous and dock with the Tiangong Space Station. So the orbit must be accurate enough.
Professor, remind us again how much time it will take before the docking and rendezvous happens.
Well, it depends on the arrangement of the plan. That just several days before we conducted the Tianzhou 5 mission, and it only used 2 hours.
2 hours.
Yes, that makes the world record.
But that was unmanned cargo spacecraft. This is different.
But the technology is similar.
But it can't be done in 2 hours.
Yes, but maybe not necessary. That 6 hours is already short enough. So it depends on the arrangement.
Yep. It's not about the orbital mechanics right now. It's more about the arrangements and the readiness of the crew to welcome the Shenzhou 15 on CSS.
Whether the launch and flight so far has been a success, there will be an official announcement. We're waiting for that to happen as well.
神舟15号报告，飞船座舱大气环境正常，航天员感觉良好，完毕。
They are feeling well.
The taikonauts have just told ground control that they are feeling well, and they've been told that they can open the face windows. Is that what's going to happen?
It depends on their, that they will check every status of the spacecraft, and they will, as you mentioned, they will open their face window of their helmet sooner or later.
Let's see if we can get a visual on them. They've already done that, right?
Great. Because the most dangerous part has already been passed.
Wonderful. That's always good to know.
as we've already discussed, the IVA spacesuit they were wearing is to protect them.
长江6号跟踪正常，遥测信号正常。长江6号跟踪正常。
长江6号 means Yuanwang 6 space tracking ship.
Yeah, that's the flight time on your screen right now, 956 seconds into the flight. The latest critical step has been the opening of the solar panels.
So next, the Shenzhou 15 spacecraft will conduct a rendezvous, maybe several orbit maneuvers to meet with the Tiangong Space Station.
Is it possible for the Shenzhou 14 crew to watch this happen from the space station? Is it technologically possible?
Technically speaking, it is possible, but it also depends on the plan. You know that, as we've already discussed, if the rendezvous, time interval is short enough, they can see the launch. This already has happened in the International Space Station. You may watch it on the social media. The video taken by the astronauts on board the ISS of the launch of the Soyuz spacecraft, all the progress.
根据北京实时轨道与遥测数据监视判断，神舟15号飞船已进入近地点高度200公里，远地点高度361.9公里，倾角41.3度，周期1小时30分钟的预定轨道。飞船座舱环境正常。
We are still waiting for the official confirmation for the proper orbit.
已向各方向发出，东风收到，华山收到，江阴收到，长江6号收到。
Ground control has just reported that things are going well with the flight. The taikonauts are doing fine in their cabin, in their capsule. All indicators point to a successful launch and a successful flight.
The flight control center, the commander reported the orbital parameters of the Shenzhou 15 spacecraft. You may notice that the perigee or the lowest altitude is 200 kilometers, but the highest point or the apogee is 361 kilometers, lower than our Tiangong Space Station. This is because you know that the Shenzhou 15 is a chasing vehicle. It should be lower than the target.
Yep.
With lower orbit, it rotates faster. So it is chasing the Tiangong Space Station closer and closer.
So this is how the orbital mechanics work, guys. When you are actually closer to a celestial body, then you have more velocity with you. So if you want to chase something, then you have a lower orbit so that you can gain velocity. And you already have higher velocity, so you can gain, you can achieve that distance when you are chasing. And once you have achieved that distance, then you just adjust your orbit to meet that body, and then the relative velocity, you make sure that the relative velocity just gets cancelled out. If you have played KSP, you know what I'm talking about.
EAS, or the endogenous peripheral attach system, and other countries also adopt this system.
This is the port that will be docking with the Tiangong?
Yes. So in the future, if we want to have some international cooperation of higher level, I mean the visit of the foreign spacecraft, either a crewed spaceship or a cargo spaceship, technically speaking, it is also possible.
So it's compatible, like it's potentially compatible.
Potentially possible. There are many technical details.
I was going to ask you about international cooperation, because with the International Space Station, we've seen very close and lasting cooperation between astronauts from different countries.
No, ISS and CSS combined, no. ISS has hosted much more astronauts in space. Yeah, if you combine 6 plus the astronauts in ISS right now, I'm not so sure how many astronauts are there in ISS, but I think so it will I need to make sure, I need to see the numbers, then I can comment on it.
For these kind of experiments has already been made by other countries. And next year, our crew on board our Tiangong Space Station will conducting these experiments. So this is the first cooperation with other countries of Tiangong Space Station. And these experiments were chosen by the China Maintenance Agency and UNOOSA, or United Nations Office for Outer Space Affairs. So this is the start of our cooperation with other countries. But this is the lowest level.
Foreign proposed experiments conducted by Chinese astronauts actually in the space station.
So the next level will be the visit of the foreign crew.
How soon could that happen, Professor?
Will be, I believe they will happen maybe within the next several years.
Okay, next several years, because obviously you're going to have to syndicate training.
Exactly.
You're going to have to.
And also the foreign astronauts should learn Chinese.
I believe they will. But our astronauts speak a fair amount of English, I would suppose.
During an international flight mission, maybe probably they will learn English. But Mr. Ye Guangfu can speak English very well.
Because he trained abroad in Italy, was it?
In Europe for a cave diving, exploration training. And Miss Savancha Cristoforetti, with Chinese name Shasha, and also Mr. Martian Moria, was also with Chinese name Ma Tian, was trained in in Yantai during the rescue training. You can see this is a two-dimensional animation in the flight control center. So we can see the red point is the Shenzhou 15 spacecraft.
What is happening at this point, Professor? I mean, the ground control needs some verification of this being a complete success. What are they looking at? This further
you may notice at this moment the Shenzhou 15 spacecraft, according to this two-dimensional demonstration, it is just beneath the Tianlian 104 satellite. So just we heard the voice that the Tianlian has just set up the normal data link between the satellite, the data relay satellite, and the Shenzhou 15 spacecraft. So all these communications will confirm the real status of the Shenzhou 15 spacecraft. And also, as we were already seeing, that they are evaluating the accuracy of its orbital parameters. And when we judge that it is already accurate enough, the commander of the Zhouqian Satellite Launch Center will announce the success, and we can see the big red screens.
So it's an ongoing process. You need a multitude of indicators that are constantly sending you the signal, the message indicating success.
Yeah. We measure the accuracy of the orbital parameters with multiple sensors. We have the inertial measurement units on board our Shenzhou 15. We also have our Beidou navigation satellite receiver. And also, we have the other measures to measure the velocity position of our Shenzhou 15. Mr. Deng Qingming has fulfilled his 25 years of dream to go to outer space.
That is incredible. This must be an very memorable night for him and his family. I wonder if it's the same as he imagined this would be, because he was the backup a lot of the times. And when he watched his colleagues lift off, and now he's experienced it himself, I wonder what's going through his mind right now.
Mr. Deng Qingming has already become a grandfather. And her daughter is our colleagues.
Yes, her daughter became, followed in the footsteps of her father, essentially.
So I believe next the commander will announce the success of the mission. I've also been to this this hall in the flight control center, you may notice that there is a computer, there is a screen in front of everybody, and you can read each of the parameter from this screen.
When was that? When was that trip? When was that?
In 2019.
A full room of ground control and command staff nervously watching the flight so far. Everything seems to go to have gone really well.
Yeah.
We're waiting for some last minute verification before the officials
yes,
announce their assessment of the flight.
The verification of the accuracy of the orbital parameters.
I mean, the accuracy, as Professor Yang explained, is everything in determining the success of the docking and the rendezvous, because this is constantly chasing the Tiangong Space Station.
And if everything is normal, next, the Shenzhou 15 spacecraft will conduct. Great, the Tianlian data rate link has already been established. And it will switch to a autonomous rendezvous mode. So the Shenzhou 15 will conduct the orbit maneuver based on its own.
What will the Tianlian satellite do once the docking and rendezvous happens? Will it still be in use?
Quite right. You know that we have the communication link between the Tianlian, not only with Shenzhou 15, but also with the Tiangong Space Station and the. Okay, the thrusters will be tested. So the ground station, the ground commander remind the astronauts to keep their safe belt fastened.
All right.
You know, there are a lot of rocket engines on the propulsion module, so they must test these kind of engines.
They don't do this normally. I'm not so sure about it, but whatever I've seen it, the launches I have not seen that.
The propulsion module each have a thrust of 2,500 Newton, and we also have other engines for the attitude control and also translation. They will control the attitude in pitch, yaw, and roll direction, and also have the translation engines to move the spacecraft to front, back, left, right, up, and down. So these are very necessary requirements to the rendezvous and the docking with the space station. So these engines are so critical for the rendezvous and docking procedure. So that is the reason why the commander will ask to test these engines and remind the astronauts to fasten their seat belt.
They're laser focused on those manuals again. I just love it when they move their legs around a little bit, indicating that they're relaxed, they're in a good state. Now that they've passed the most uncomfortable period into the flight.
You can see on the left screen is a camera mounted on the Shenzhou spacecraft, and you can see the bright curve is the horizon of the Earth. It is so beautiful.
That is beautiful.
Wow,
And
just
a lot
look
of
at that.
first-timers, like to snap a picture
And
of the
videos.
Earth and videos, of course. So we
See,
can expect some
Sprenker, you don't actually
artworks.
need a visual confirmation for these things. Telemetry is what you actually need. And right now, the views are just amazing. You can see the whoa, the sunrise. I just can't look at that. Whoa.
Back to the ground station. So this is a high technology. Oh, we can already see the sun.
Oh, dude.
This is a sunrise in orbit.
The camera placement is just amazing. This is no doubt the best launch that I've ever seen. for a rocket.
正常，雅思信号正常。
Important, allowing us to see a real-time process of the flight, and what it captures really reassures us why
Sunrise
we're doing this.
was
Just to
something to look
unravel
at.
the mysteries of the universe and to broaden our horizons quite literally with man's continuous exploration of this space.
Exactly.
Wow.
So you can see that the astronauts are still reading the manual.
我是北京，根据北京实时遥测数据监视判断，飞船太阳帆板工况正常，按3圈自主原导实施交会对接，后续工作按正常计划实
Please
施。
proceed as
神舟15
the
号。
plan.
So ground staff has
神
just
舟15号明白。东
Shenzhou
风
15 copy.
东风明白。
informed
华山
Shenzhou 15
华山明白。
crew
华山 copy.
that the spacecraft is doing well, that the panels have opened and are doing well, and things can proceed according to the plan. An automated rendezvous, as Professor Yang was talking about just now.
And based on the information by the ground control center, they will conduct a 3-orbit rendezvous, which means that they will use about 4.5 hours to be
Oh,
closer to the
it's
space
the
station.
plan has changed. Plan has changed.
苏立鹏指挥长宣布发射结果。
So he was right about those arrangements.
Launch center about to declare their assessment of the launch.
Big red screen is coming up, guys.
根据
Comrades.
飞行试验数据。
According to the flight data and report from Beijing Aerospace Control Center, Long March 2 FY-15 carrier rocket has sent Shenzhou 15 manned spaceship to the preset orbit. The solar panel has unfolded successfully and is functioning well. Now I declare the launch of Shenzhou 15 manned mission a complete success. Thank you.
The message we were all waiting to hear, a complete success declared of the Shenzhou.
There you go, the big
15
red,
launch
iconic
initial flight.
big red screen.
You can see the big red screen, our tradition.
The big
When
red
the-
screen is what we always wanted to see.
When the success is confirmed.
Another beautiful and successful launch of the Shenzhou 15 manned mission into space. We'll keep monitoring what happens there. China's Shenzhou 15 manned spaceflight mission launched Tuesday night from Jiuquan Satellite Launch Center in northwest China's Gobi Desert. Our reporter Zheng Yibing spoke to an expert about the mission and has this report.
That was something. This mission was the best mission that I've ever witnessed. I must say that. The bestest of all. You know, the views, first of all, those the liftoff views, the moon, the plume, everything was just too good to be true. And then finally that sunrise kiss was something which you can't just miss. It was amazing. I am so happy that I witnessed this live, and I was able to stream it with you all, guys. I hope you also enjoyed this launch. So now we have we'll be seeing the just let me. So if you you have seen, you know what I'm talking about. This was something. You can see the views of the see those plume and the moonrise, the sun. See this one, the views from the moon at the background. Was amazing to see. That was something. Okay, so slow recruitment was good. Okay, finally you can see. Okay, this is a view which you can see from the launch view gallery of the ISRO's GSLV Mark III rocket launch carrying 36 OneWeb satellites. So that is also kind of a sunrise at midnight. So yeah, it was something. And so this is an iconic shuttle shuttle video, the external tank being jettisoned. I don't think so. We have any other update though. So I guess that should be it. That should wrap up this launch. If you have any questions, you can certainly ask me, guys. And thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much, Louis Smith and Everyday Spaceman. And guys, first of all, I always forget, but this channel is alive because of its members and Patreons. So thank you all the members and the Patreons. You guys completely rock. You don't only enable me to stream the launch, but you also enable thousands of other people to actually have a proper view at the rocket launch with all the information needed. So thank you so much. Without your support, this channel would not be alive, because you all know this this channel is alive because of the members and the Patreons. Zero ad revenue is not counted for me. Everything is just because of the members. You guys just rock. And thank you so much. Big shout out to Google account though. He has been supporting me since very long, and making sure that single-handedly this channel stays alive. So yeah, thank you so much, Google account, if you are watching it. And if you guys want to support me in what I do so that I can even improve my coverage, I'm planning to do some changes so that the coverage can be improved, and I would need some the finances and all those things will be there. So if you want to support me, you can become a member and a Patreon. The link is down in the description. Other than that, uh, do just join me and hit that like button. That would be more than enough for me. So talking about another launch, so ISRO is still not done with all the launches. I am still very skeptical about one more launch, but still there is a launch of SSLV demonstration 2 mission. You know, as a first SSLV mission was not successful. Everything was good, but due to some minor issue, the SSLV mission was not successful, and they will be trying again in December. So yeah, there's that. And we have okay, so tomorrow only I don't think so I will be able to stream that though. Yeah, I won't be able to stream. Wow, that's an important mission. So there is a mission called Hakuto R M1 and Lunar Flashlight, which is being launched by SpaceX. So this is a mission which is first mission of the Hakuto R commercial lunar lander developed by a private Japanese company, iSpace. So they will be launching their lunar lander by SpaceX tomorrow. The timing is a bit odd. I have office at that point of time, so I won't be streaming that. But I will try, if the timing suits, that the landing of the lunar lander is streamed properly. So yeah, would see that. Other than that, we we should be live when then. Okay, so on 8th December we have Electron launch from the yeah, Electron launch actually from the Rocket Launch Complex 2. So we'll have that on 8th of December. That's a go for the launch. But we do have many launches from in December itself. Hopefully, the Virgin Orbit flight also. We'll have to wait and see. So yeah. Okay, an H2A rocket. If that happens, that would be great. Okay. So guys, thank you so much for tuning in. It was an amazing experience to actually see this launch. This was so beautiful, so spectacular, so phenomenal to watch. And yeah, if you have anything else, you can ask me. I don't think so you have though, so I should be ending this stream. So until then, this is Priyanshu Rohila. You just saw Rocket Gyan. Stay safe, stay healthy, and bye.